Hello, everyone in podcast land. I'm David.
And I'm Jono.
And this is the podcast where we don a spacesuit that comes from space and it takes over our entire body and shares our brain. It's the Let's Wing It podcast.
Yeah, and it was a good experience, I would say. And it was actually very different. It was very different.
To have an alien come over and share our brains. I agree.
Yeah.
It's been so much simpler since the symbiote just like entered my brain and is slowly just overcoming my higher function. You just kind of like let it do it, and then you're just like you're just vibing. That's Jimmy Buffett fans. That's basically what happens. Is Jimmy Buffett songs are such. Oh, you don't know the Margaritaville fans?
I know. I watch. I haven't listened. I don't think I've probably listened to Jimmy Buffett like at one point in my life, but I don't register it. But the only time I actually did kind of like came up about and recognized it again was like Eddie Burback's video, like him going to every Margaritaville.
Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I watched his video and then I watched the other guy's video, and it's it's perfect. It's a great movie. But
it's funny. I think it's actually better than the Rainforest Cafe video. Anyway, so Jimmy Buffett, basically what I was saying is that he has a really rabid fan base of, vacationers, like boomer vacationing. And so it's a whole thing. Do you know what else is a thing? It's the tree we got for you this week. We're going to be talking about the new DC movie starring the kid from Cobra Kai. I should know his name. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
No, that's not Cobra
Miguel.
Kai's
that's
name.
the Cobra Kai. But it's Blue Beetle. We are the worst. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's a Let's Win It podcast. We don't really prepare anything, and we just want to talk about our days and how's everything going. And these are probably the biggest things because also after Blue Beetle, I'm also what we like to call Twitter rich, so we can talk about that later. But before that, we want to give you guys a great message from our new sponsor.
Beacon! The number one reason a listener or viewer will turn off a new podcast or video is because of bad audio. That's why this podcast is powered by Beacon Mic. All the features you need are built right into the mic, which makes connecting easy via USB-C. One cable, no pain. Gives you the best of broadcast quality audio without a steep learning curve, and saves you a ton of money from having to buy a bunch of extra gear. Get $20 off when you use our offer code WING at checkout. Check out the link in the video description.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, we're using them right now. I think we sound pretty great. And actually, the one thing too is just I kind of want to add in on this, and this is not really kind of part of the sponsor, but I didn't actually realize how critical audio is like needed even in video production. Like when we used to do Short Circuit, we just kind of like it doesn't matter. But I've been picking up disc golf lately, and they had really bad audio, and I had to like skip huge sections until they realized that you had to fix it. So good audio equals more listeners, and I can probably guarantee that.
As a camera guy, I can attest. Especially with like online content, your audio might be more important than video. Like you can shoot on a phone if you have good audio and it would be fine. But as soon as the audio is bad, it's like you can't pay attention. I can't.
Yeah. But yeah, go check out these guys. They're local guys too, at least in British Columbia for.
Yeah, local to me.
Local to him, not to me anymore.
Yeah, so the actor's name Zolo Mari Dueña. He's from Cobra Kai fame. He's Miguel, one of the main characters on that show. And he's starring in Blue Beetle. Jono, what did you think of the Beetle, which was Boo?
the Blue Beetle.
The Blue Beetle.
I will say this. I think this movie was okay. It wasn't the best movie. It wasn't Shazam 1. But it wasn't bad like Black Adam. There was a lot of good. Yeah. There was a lot of confusing parts that I have to go. And there was a lot of like, oh, that was amazing. Mwah, mwah. And it really hit me emotionally because I kind of connected this movie in a way because like when my mom's passing, there was a passing in this movie too. And that I was like literally in tears going, this is too real. It hurts too much now. But yeah, I think it was pretty good, but there was an added benefit that I got. But I'll explain that a little bit more. What did you think? Yeah.
I feel like I feel about the same. I think it's pretty okay. I think it's the kind of superhero movie that a computer could generate. But there's a pass of the script that, or like there's at some point the family element was infused into the movie, and that part sings. That the family dynamic, every character in the family is unique, fun, lovable. And every moment that they're sharing, that they're working towards like loving each other, I was so engaged. And as soon as the fucking blue Beetle suit comes out, I'm like, I just don't fucking care. Like, I just don't care. I think that the action is kind of dull in this movie. I think that as much as I love Susan Sarandon, and I think it's mind-boggling how beautiful she is. I just like didn't care about the superhero stuff, like all the plots and powers and fight. The fights are bad in this movie, and they do a huge critical error where Blue Beetle is bulletproof, and 70% of the fights are against minions with guns. And so there's like zero stakes, and then there's like one guy who can kind of punch harder, and then at the end he's strong enough that they can actually fight. I just thought that part of it felt like such an afterthought, and you can kind of tell no one was really passionate about it. But overall, movie's okay.
Yeah. So maybe just kind of give a really quick synopsis of the movie. Did you want to give it? I can give it just going top of my head, but I think it's a little bit fresher in your head.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I saw this movie just a couple days ago. Basically, Hamey is, coming back from university. He just graduated, and he's coming back to a family that loves him, but is really struggling financially. Their house is going for sale, or they can't afford the rent or whatever. And gentrification is coming to their area. Dad had a heart attack. He was kind of left out of it, and he's really struggling. So they are trying to figure it out. He's basically stumbles into, a scenario where he protects a billionaire's daughter from the aunt. And that allows him to, she's like, hey, I can get you a job or something at court. He's like, I'll do anything. Basically, he lucks into this scenario, and the billionaire company is basically researching this alien scarab thing that makes you super strong. But it's like they're turning it into a super weapon. And so she steals it. And again, he gets involved, and it picks him and makes him a superhero. But his family knows right away, which is great. And basically he's trying to get it out of him because it's fused to him. The evil people are trying to get it out of him because they want it to make their super weapon. And that's basically the plot of the movie. Then, the family's they go to the daughter, like the billionaire daughter's dad's old house to kind of figure it out, because he was the original Blue Beetle in the 80s and 90s. And she's struggling with her own stuff. The family is doing their own thing. The dad dies at one point, and then they go to a secret island where they're making 1 billion super suits, and they have to steal the code they have to milk Hamey, and they milk him good. They got to milk the code. They milk him good, and then he fights and has a moment in the spirit realm with his dad that gives him the strength to overcome, and then he goes back and punches the other guy harder until he realizes that the other guy isn't such a bad guy. He's just being controlled by the rich people. And then the evil guy kills the evil lady, and then they hang out, and it's a good time.
They hang out, it's good. So I mean, like, from all superhero movies, that's like pretty much like the most basic cookie cutter kind of thing you could ever get. Like, that's the kind of formula. They do sprinkle in sci-fi and symbiosis and that kind of good stuff. But like the kind of cool thing was just like, family, old school power versus the corporation. Because like the big kind of bad guy is the aunt, or when you kind of look at it, Cord Industries, which is the big mega corporation that his love interest, Jenny's like the daughter of the owner, original owner of the company, or granddaughter of the original owner, and all these kind of things. And the family part was actually kind of interesting. And actually maybe even a little bit, I'll go even back. This is kind of like DC's kind of version of trying to be Black Panther, I found. And I didn't really think about that until I actually got into the movie theater. So this is the kind of really interesting experience I had. And this is an experience I probably would not have gotten or received or experienced in British Columbia, where I'm originally from. since New Jersey, there was it's not huge like compared to Florida or Texas, but there was a sizable Latino culture here. So
much more than BC's.
Much more, yeah.
Much. There's a little bit of like Latin American, but it's like mostly Brazilian. That's here.
Yeah. So when I went to the movie theater, this one was actually the first time I actually felt it packed, other than Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I kind of looked around, and I'm not trying to be racial, but I felt like, oh, there's more Latin people. Interesting. Cool. And when I was watching the movie, throughout the whole moment, so like interesting tidbits of Latin culture that kind of gets brought out. For me, I have like zero experience other than me going to these countries and experiencing the resort life because I'm just getting drunk in vacations.
Yeah,
like
sure.
You can just hear people like cheering, going, "Yeah, go MS!" Like, oh, all this. I'm like, whoa, like what is what is this? Like, this is different. I didn't get bothered. I was like getting into it. I'm like, yeah, you get them, and it was just so refreshing. It was just so like, wow. I'm so glad I'm here to experience this. And then at the movie, everyone's like clapping. And these people, like, I'm like, oh, this movie's okay. But these people, like, I love this movie. It's so good. And you just like people like celebrating. And I'm like, holy crap. Did I watch a different version in this movie?
Yeah. I noticed that I saw the director doing a couple interviews where he's like, this is a movie made by Latinx people for Latinx people.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to me that I don't know if the comic, but I'm guessing this is from the comic. The city they're in is like a fictional island nation kind of thing. So they don't really have to comment on too much political stuff. They can kind of play it safe and like dip their toes and say like a few political things about like, gentrification and anti-immigration and that anti-Mexican sentiment. Because they're specifically Mexican immigrants. They're not like, they're not just vague. It's clear it's
like if you're gonna go anywhere, it's probably Florida that they'll probably this fictional city is based on because they keep going the Keys. I'm like, oh
yeah, it kind of seems like it's like Key West, but it's sort of sci-fi city.
Yeah.
Although that was one of my complaints was like some of the sci-fi stuff, like there's the helicopter. But it's like a mildly futuristic helicopter, but it has LEDs on it. And it's like, that was kind of the futuristic element. And it felt very like, afterthought. Same with like a lot of the city elements. It felt very shitty video game CG background city. Like there's one building where it's like, it's literally a gray building, but they've superimposed LED lights over top of it. But it's like, it just looks so cheap and tacky. And I was like, man, they really didn't think of this world very much.
Yeah. The whole city, the whole futuristic city, all the quote unquote rich side, which is like, this is just like, it's just full CG. The only times where it's real is, I guess, the mansion, the abandoned mansion, that was real points to it. But the neighborhood, the old school Latin neighborhood, where all these
that little corner,
live, that was like the realest kind of set out of everything. I think because everything else was definitely like green screen. Like whole movie.
There's small sets. I feel like the locations were like there's outside of like the ground level of corporate buildings and kind of like small interiors of probably corporate buildings that they built like the escalator areas and stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought like the visual language of this film was boring. They do a thing where they're kind of going synthwave, like that purple and teal sort of look with like the 80s synth. And it sort of makes sense when you realize that the original Blue Beetle was an 80s Blue Beetle. But I felt it just felt like an afterthought and not totally integrated into what the movie was. Because the movie's not really about this synthwave thing. It's not even really about the 80s Beetle thing. Yeah. And so I felt like at one point the director was like, I kind of like, the soundtrack from Stranger Things. You think you can do that? You know what? I like this look, like the kind of like cool ninja font. It's kind of cool.
It kind of felt like they literally, like the director was a big fan of Taika. And then was like, I want to do kind of what he did for this movie with what he did with Ragnarok. So he would like kind of like probably get like a little bit inspiration. Because when you actually think about Ragnarok, it was that kind of same theme as like when you went to, I can't remember what the planet was called, but it's like, it has all those same kind of thematic elements, but they won't able to pull it off in this movie. And it doesn't, like the fighting scenes were okay. Like they were passable. I would say I will be a bit more optimistic that it was passable because there was some parts I'm like, oh, that was cool. That was
neat.
I
think.
But yeah,
in terms of fight scenes, the one I actually was like, okay, was when he's had his moment of weakness where his suit won't reboot, but then his mom goes and gives him this pep talk, and then he's got to go save his sister, and he rounds the corner and the lighting's red, and whatever song comes on, I can't remember, and he just starts beating dudes up. That was the one moment I'm like, okay, everything's coming together for this action scene to mean something. Yeah. Not just be vaguely like, okay, we had a really good fight coordinator who can, make these moves cool and then CG to enhance it. It was actually like, okay, story and character and like this like power fantasy is all working together to make this scene mean something.
Yeah. And it, there's something I want to talk about later in the fight scenes and the combat of it, but I want to kind of pull it back here. Okay. So, so maybe let me ask you, what was your favorite parts in the movie? Like, though maybe at macro level, like what are your favorite parts?
Okay, so all the family stuff I think is great. And I think that like the characters are really well fleshed out. They all have kind of their unique quirks and they bounce off each other really well. I really think the humor that's family based worked really well for me. Yeah. I like Uncle Rufus. No, he can't be Rufus.
No,
Rudy. I really felt the dad, like you said, when, the dad has his heart attack. I really felt it. And I thought their performances...
The dad was Alberto Reyes or Damien Alcazar.
And, the dude had Dead Dad written all over from his introduction. You're like, this dude's fucking dead. All the family has like a unique quirk where you're like, that's the silly weird one. That's the conspiracy theory one. That's the cynical, and that's the grandma who has a secret. And the dad's just like, I'm a good dad. And that's his quirk. And you're like,
he was like literally like you can look at it like when you watch the original Spider-Man or like you look at Uncle Ben like you're dead. Like sorry man, you're gonna die.
You're so dead.
But here's the thing,
I wasn't surprised. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just like Alberto, his father, and like honestly, he's so wholesome. You're like, it's fine. Well, like we have no money, but we'll give these people 25% tip. Don't worry about it. Like let's just He's just like literally
too.
Yeah, he's like literally moral compass. Like that's why I just watched it and I was just like, and then I just hear people like, 20 gotta tip people because they're struggling too. Like I was like, it was such a weird, cool experience just like doing that. I will hit back at this thematic, just like having this little community of the people watching it with me. And it was great. It was like that's the reason why we like movie theaters. But like the dad was great.
Yeah, I like him. And then I think so we can speak specifically of his death. The distress in the performances reacting to his death were so good. It was so real. And like the way the sister screams out like, mommy, like it just felt so visceral and powerful. I think later in the movie when they're grieving and they kind of just like huddle around each other, it felt like a little bit more fake and movie-y, but like in those guttural reactions, incredible. And then in the same way, in a more lighthearted way, when Amy. It's gonna be hard to get rid of my Cobra Kai. First gets like is transforming into the Blue Beetle. That scene was intense. Like
that was it's the taking best over scene.
It pins into the ceiling. Good. And he's like slowly transforming and it looks painful and horrifying. And the way his family is screaming was so funny. And yet it served its purpose to make you like, damn, this is fucked up.
It's like literally, it's like, I think they like comedically timed it really well between like, this is fucked. But also, this is really funny because, like, you have like Uncle Rudy who's like, "Oh, did it go up your ass?" Like he keeps like saying that. I couldn't stop laughing, going, "Oh yeah, like is that how he gets in?" I'm like, "That's the kind of like only biggest hole to get in." But yeah, you just see like everyone just kind of like freaking out and him just like disappearing. But what I really loved is when he kind of comes back, like he lands, and then everyone's just kind of like. Everyone's just like waiting for him to come back. They're like a little bit concerned. The mom's on the phone with the cops.
Yeah, like my son's missing.
Yeah, missing, but he's only been gone for like half an hour and it's been great. But like the whole concern, like George Lopez, like I don't especially like him as an actor too much, but I thought this movie, he was like perfect. Like all his comedic timing was great. All his jokes landed really well.
Yeah.
And he plays off the kind of weird, crazy uncle because he has like kind of a specific story, kind of a mini story about how he feels like he's like all screwed up. Like
he's a big failure.
Big failure of the family. But he has like all these like cool little moments in the movie. Like he helped build the trampoline, the jammer system.
Yeah.
That also kind of like fun thing is that, you remember when he jammed that signal and the TV was playing that little like comic comic hero? I had no idea who that was. But like someone in the theater was like, yeah, but like he just said something, but like that person was fucking jacked for that guy. I'm like, whoa, okay, like that's something I will never experience, but that's kind of cool.
I had to look it up after the character showed up in the post-credit scene as well. I was like, this is barely a post-credit scene, but then Cassie was like, no, that's someone that matters to Latin people. And I was okay. Yeah. It's not for me, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. So that was really good. But like out of everyone, sorry. Yeah, the one person I kind of did have, like, I didn't really feel like I bought into her is the sister. Like, her performance when the dad dies was really good. But for some reason, I don't know. I never really felt like they were siblings. Like, there was something off about how she kind of like acted and everything. That was just kind of like, she felt like she was just playing a character. I didn't like the beginning. Maybe just the beginning just kind of threw me off of like how her demeanor was.
I think it's interesting. And it's like, it's pretty clear to me that this, I'm sure Blue Beetle is the same, but that this movie is, very much inspired by Spider-Man. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, you have your poor kid on the wrong side of town trying to use their brains, which they have, to get ahead. They have a family that's like really supporting them, but like, they have a father figure that dies. But then, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man, you have Zendaya, who's his girlfriend, MJ, and she's like the sarcastic, funny version. And I feel like they were trying to play the sister into that. There's no romance, obviously, because he's got Jenny, who I think is the worst character in the whole thing, because she's not a character.
she's the MacGuffin. She just kind of helps like things kind of go along.
When it felt like she needed a woman to come in and be like, please write this character to have dimension, because it's just like she's just so clearly serves a purpose, and she's like she's the hot billionaire daughter who happens to like Amy. And it's like, she's competent and she does her job fine. Yeah. And she has her moments or whatever. But I felt like when put next to this fantastic family dynamic, I just felt like she was a little bit flat.
She was very flat. I would have to kind of say that Kaiji Da, or the suit personality, had more personality than her. Other than when she reveals that her mom died and like reviewing the lore of the old Beetle, like, oh, that was my dad.
That was kind of cool.
But I think just like, she was literally just a vehicle. Like, oh, let's just, how do we get Amy to be like more of the Blue Beetle? Oh, we'll get Jenny to like kind of help out. Yeah.
And so I didn't feel the love story at all. I get like, I thought it was kind of funny when they almost kiss and he has the boner joke, I guess. But I wasn't rooting for that romance a lot. And at the end, when she comes, and it's not really clear if she's going to pay for everything. Like, she buys the uncle a truck, which I think, fucking, you're a billionaire, buy him
it's a Toyota commercial.
Yeah, it's a Toyota commercial, but it's also like, it's, within the universe of the movie, it's like, you're a billionaire and you're the reason why his truck got busted up. Like, you should buy him $100,000 truck.
Yeah, but the house too.
But did they buy it? Did she buy it, or like what? It wasn't clear to me. Like,
I think she bought it for them. But here's actually the one thing that kind of puzzled me. This is the one thing that kind of like pissed me off. I was like, oh, I think to me how I would have written that part was like, they go, no, we have to move away from this house, because she was taking all the cactus, all the cacti plants.
It was just cute. I like that. Yeah,
that was really cool.
The dad had planted it when they moved into the house, when the kids were born, and that had grown into this big, beautiful cactus plant. But then when the house is burnt down because, the evil organization is just burning shit for fun, the cactuses dies, but the grandma comes and recovers a little bit and is like, we'll replant, we'll regrow.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So my brain was like, oh, those are a fucking big mansion. They all move in there together.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah. And then also, like, it makes sense because Hamy's going to be the Blue Beetle and he kind of needs a home base. So I was like, why doesn't she be like, you're living with me? Because she also wants that kind of family dynamic too.
Yeah, it's like a fucking 20-bedroom mansion. Like,
yeah.
I think you can all fit. I actually thought exactly the same thing.
Yeah, because I was like waiting for it. I was like waiting for it. I'm like, yeah, like, come on, like, what? Where is it? Because I would have loved to see the scene where like he's like starts thriving. He's like, yeah, I'm the Blue Beetle. Like his uncle's gonna be like his version of oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. What's the butler name? No,
Alfred
for Batman. Alfred, yeah. I thought he was gonna be like the wacky Alfred version of him, and Nana's gonna like maintain all the weapons and like all those things. And it's just like I'm like, they're like, no, we just buy your house. I'm like, that house is like fucking shit now. Like that's
and it's not even clear if she buys the house. It sounded like she bought that side of the island to like keep it real. But I was like, wait, so you're just their landlord now? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So I'd be like, yeah. So I think the ending honestly kind of fell a little flat. So
yeah.
So
it would have been way
family,
cooler. Yeah, if he was at the house and he's like got a mission to do and like you said, the uncle's there, the grandma's there, and they all have their purpose. Like that would have been so much better.
It would just it honestly just like it felt like they had it there. They're like, no, we're just gonna end it at the house because
I almost wonder if it was maybe at some point on the docket is to have them move into the house, but they were like, well, one of the mid-credit scene is, oh, her dad is still actually alive. And then it would just be complicated if he comes back and they're in his house. But like, who fucking cares? He's they have a billion rooms. Like you can fit them all. And it's way more fun if they get to go and live in a mansion than it's like this burnt out husk. Yeah, I own the land around it. So like, I won't charge you rent. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Like that. Who fucking cares?
You're the Blue Beetle now. It's fine. So also, so the family. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, just like the romantic scene at the end when they finally kiss and then he puts on his suit and they fly away. It was not good. It was bad.
Yeah, I was like, that's a big old yak. So the family dynamic was really good. Those two other parts I will kind of like highlight what I liked. I liked the whole they kind of expanded the like, full disclosure, listener or viewer, I have almost zero to no information. Like I usually kind of know most superheroes before I watch these. Blue Beetle's like one guy I just like did not even know he existed until someone goes, oh yeah, the movie's coming out. And I'm like, oh, this Blue Beetle? Interesting. This is like their version of Ant-Man, but kind of cooler. But I had no idea. So like the cool thing I liked about it, how like those lore of the Blue Beetle that they kind of incorporated, that like, oh, here's like the original Blue Beetle. Like
that was cool.
I thought that was kind of neat because it felt like he wasn't like the original Blue Beetle. He's like continuing the Blue Beetle, which I really like. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
fact.
I actually think that it's time for more superhero movies to do that. Like, I mean, this is obviously inspired by Spider-Man, but like all the Miles Morales content we've been getting is great. Yeah. We know the Peter Parker story, and like I'll watch the next Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, I'm sure. But like it's way more exciting to get Miles Morales content. And so like you can stay within a big brand, a big, superhero that's recognizable, but then you get different character stories. And so I think it's cool to get like second and third generation superheroes. And I'm ready for a non-Bruce Wayne Batman. I'm ready for, other super characters that we recognize but are different, and so they can kind of tell the story. And they're kind of a little less precious to most people, and so you're allowed a little more freedom when you're telling about the third Flash instead of Barry Allen.
I mean, the Flash that movie was so good, but also had so many problems. But we won't. We if you want to listen, you can listen to a previous episode. I think I titled it "Is It That Bad?" So yeah, there's that. But I think the next part that I really loved, I think this was probably my favorite scene of the movie, is when his antagonist, like at least the bully antagonist, at least maybe both parts,
like the henchman,
the henchman. What's his name? Give me one sec. think it is Carapax. Max sorry, I'm butchering this guy's name. I'm taking Spanish lessons. Max Trujillo. Anyway, sorry. I'm just gonna call you Raul. I loved it when they gave the villain backstory, because Hammy wanted to kill Carapax, because Carapax was responsible for his dad getting a heart attack and passing away because he couldn't help him. Mm-hmm. And I love how Kajidia was just like, oh no, we can't kill him because, like, let me show you why. And he just gave him all that backstory and all his memories, and him, Carapax also remembering what's happening and having that kind of realization
from his memory.
Yeah. So I love that whole interaction, that last fight scene. And especially with Susan Sarandon going, hey, let's go kick his ass. It's like, no. Oh, I'm going to like, you can start seeing her at her weakness is like trying to negotiate with him, but it's just not working. And then Carapax goes, I think it's time for us to both go, and dragging her into the fire and like killing them both. I was like, that was sick. That was like, that was so satisfying for a villain to get her comeuppance and a villain to get his redemption at the same time.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good little henchman redemption. And I think what's cool too is they set it up where you think that the person, he has this locket, when he's about to go through a painful procedure that he looks at and he's like, but I thought, and I think most of the audience would assume that it was his wife and kid that had been killed.
Yeah.
But I like that little reveal at the end that it's like, actually, no, it was him that's the kid and that's his mom. Yeah. And he's been under the knife from this corporation and like undergoing these horrifying procedures for so long. And that's why he is the way he is, why his memory is wiped. And it makes it like, makes you feel especially sad for him. I felt like the order of events, I wish was like switched a little bit. And I'm not 100% sure how that one in particular would be different, but I wish that like earlier in the movie, we got a little bit more about him.
Yeah.
Because that first fight they have, I thought it was a shitty fight. And it was one of those really annoying, like, hey, why the fuck are you trying to negotiate with this guy? He's clearly trying to kill you. What the fuck are you doing? And so I found that fight frustrating, but yeah.
Yeah, the first fight was like really frustrating like that. And I think it's just like they couldn't really balance out like Himmy's, the Blue Beetle's like hesitation and not knowing how the suit works with also how do I stop this guy from killing me, Jenny, or Rudy, Uncle Rudy at the same time. So like it felt the fight scenes wasn't very well paced. It wasn't paced well at all.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like them kind of like going, stopping, joke, going, stopping, joke, defeating bad guy, but didn't really defeat him. And the bad guy gets his comeuppance at the end, and then they kind of like run away. So I'm a big fan of the action movie, and that one, they just kind of stumble. And then that was the first time in the movie I actually felt a little bit frustrated. I'm like, come on, like this is taking too long. Like whoever directed this, or maybe the editor screwed up on that fight scene. And it just felt a little too slow paced.
Well, so it's an interesting transition into what I think is a core issue this movie has. Mm-hmm. And I'm so curious about the behind the scenes, and maybe we'll find out. We usually never do because these superhero conglomerate corporations behind them are so tight-lipped. But it feels to me, because this movie is kind of long, it's like 2 hours and 7 minutes, which is pretty long for this type of thing. It feels to me like it was cut down from a longer cut. And so a lot of the pacing is fucked up, where there's like, like these fights are kind of weird. And like you said, it's kind of stop and go. And it almost feels like there was more to kind of build anticipation and tension. That's just kind of like cut. And the scene that I felt it the most was when, Hammy enters the spirit realm and he's talking to his dad, and his dad's like, this is my purpose. Like I was here to help guide you in this moment. And I was like, this is good. And I was like, I wanted to cry because I got emotional when the dad actually did die. And so like when, a parental figure gets to come back and say their goodbyes and be like, I love you so much. That gets me in movies. Like I'll cry pretty much without fail.
you definitely are getting hit with the Mufasa moment. You know, like you have Simba, Mufasa.
Yeah, it's good. Well, and the idea of it's good, but what I found was that the editing in that scene is really kind of off-putting, and it almost feels like there's no time for people to react to what they're saying to each other. And it felt like that scene had been cut down because an executive was like, oh man, like the scene just drags on. It just drags on. But it's like, there's no time to feel and like watch Hamey just like break down and be like, I need you. It's just like line, shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot. And it's just like, it's kind of just like relentless. And that's a moment that would really benefit from being pulled out and like having the emotion, squeezed out of it.
Yeah, no, I think I just maybe make the comparison where they needed to give it at least probably like 30 seconds. Like it's not that much time in the grand scheme of it, but it's kind of like the same kind of way of like, I always make the comparison bad or just you need breath in movies like the Super Mario Brother movie, like that needed a lot of
breath for sure.
Yeah, breath. But like, I think the best part of that whole movie was when in the Super Mario Brother movie is like when he realizes he gets beaten up and he gets hit in the pizza shop and him seeing his commercial again, like that breath gave me such an emotion. That movie, like this Blue Beetle, definitely needed him going like, realization of who he is and what his dad originally said to him, like he needs to find his purpose. And it could have been really well done, like him breaking down, him feeling remorseful because his dad's passing, and then looking at the Blue Beetle floating in the space going, that's my purpose. I'm going to go do whatever it takes. Because I did really like after when he like runs, like he starts running to jump for the Blue Beetle. Yeah. I really felt, I love that scene because I don't know, maybe it was just like, because who I was with, you can hear people going, yeah, let's go. Like, go, Yami, like you get your destiny. I was like, oh, it's so cool. I love this.
No, I get that because I agree. The actual run and the jump, it was a great minor stunt because it felt real. Like it felt like he had been like, emotionally charged to jump far. What I didn't love was this visual of, just the floating Beetle suit. And like, that's what he's got to go towards. Like, it felt like there was like one level of imagination that could have elevated that, it's like, he's like the house is like turning into a beetle. I don't know. I can't come up with it on the fly, but it felt like kind of basic.
Yeah. I think it could have been like his
like the
dad,
reaching out and touching. I was like,
it kind of looked cool. It looks, I think they must have had a lot of discussions at it. And, thankfully enough with them, since everything's CG and he didn't have any lines and saying anything, it's like, oh, I'm going to get the Blue Beetle body. No, like you could have done anything you wanted and then it would have made sense. And like this, it's just like that moment was like really good. But here's actually like, I want to move on from that one. Here's one thing that kind of also pulled me out of the movie. This one actually probably pulled me out of the movie the most. Yeah. Was Hamey as a Blue Beetle, like he's fresh, he's young, he's a kid, and he wants to be idealistic. He goes, no killing. That was the whole thing. Yeah. His family does not share that same belief. And it's like
when the beetle impales the guy, I was like, oh, that guy's dead.
Well, I mean, like, even Uncle Rudy. So for context, if you haven't seen it and you don't care about spoilers, they get the Blue Beetle ship and they assault that secret island. And Uncle Rudy literally says like, oops, I stepped on that guy. And I'm like, this is a tank. You step on a guy, that guy dead. And I think if you actually look closely enough in the movie, you actually see like the body's impaled on one of the legs.
Yeah, no, it steps on it and it like lifts him up.
Yeah. So that guy's dead. And then also Nana, because Nana's like, she has a fun kind of like history of like she's a revolutionary. She's probably from Cuba, I'm gonna guess, because that's the most recent revolution.
Well, I mean, but I think she's not specific. I think it's one of those like Ubisoft things where it's like a political, it's like a non-political political thing where it's like you were trying to be like kind of vague and non-specific so that like you kind of get the idea of, Cuban revolution, but like we don't want the like actual implications of the Cuban Revolution.
Yeah, they're definitely doing the Assassin's Creed of very liberal retelling of history. But anyways, there's a part where like Nana has like Mason of a Gatling gun or a machine gun, and she's like blasting guys, and then you it's literally. Cute. Here's one scene that I also now I'm thinking that kind of made me mad is that when Jaime sees Nana blasting guys, it just kind of like happens. And it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. And then he tried to make it too big of a deal. And it just, to me, it just didn't pull it off that well. It just because it's like, Nana's like, no, I got one of those. Shoots all those guys. And Nana's like, okay, let's go. And it's like, oh, that's it?
Yeah. I thought that, I mean, I was really annoyed because they've been showing a lot of trailers for this movie. I don't think they have confidence in it doing well on its own, so they've been marketing the fuck out of it. And the trailers are the kind of trailers that show you the whole movie. And I remember in one of the trailers, there's the shot of her like locking and loading with the Gatling gun, and then the next shot is her shooting. And I was like, that would have been great for me to see in the movie for the first time, and it sucks that I see it in a trailer.
Yeah.
And so I found it was like cute, but it didn't have much impact for me.
Yeah, like trailers are the one those like indicators of like, oh, it's just gonna be a good movie or bad movies. And actually even hitting back like Barbie, I actually got very worried because they released that song like I think like 3 or 4 days before the movie premiered. That the Ken Enough song. And like they actually like released it. And I was like, what are you doing? Like this, like, I was like panicking, going, like this movie's gonna suck. Like why did they release that song now? They should have released the song a week later or 4 days later. But thankfully enough, it's a fantastic
best movie
classic,
ever.
Yeah, classic. Yeah. It's probably gonna win Best Picture. That's my prediction. Maybe they'll probably win a lot of awards. Let's just say that.
I could see it winning a couple. It's hard because it's still like a big budget toy movie, and so it might work against it. Like some of the boomer people might not be into it, but you're right. There is a world in which Barbie wins at the Oscars.
They will win probably if they don't win Best Picture or at least get nominated. They'll win probably in all aspects of the technical stuff like sound, set designs, costume, makeup, like all that stuff. Like that's why I'll see them winning. But yeah, anyways, back to the Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle.
I don't think those maybe like just finish this off because those I don't think those that much. I think I have much else to say. No. The one thing is that I will comment is that it is a worrisome kind of feature with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is that every single I didn't actually realize this. Every single big DC movie that has come out has progressively not made money. Like it's The Flash cost $300 million to make. I think they only came back with $210 million.
Even because like that number doesn't include marketing, so that's just like literally the production budget.
Yeah, and I think even like the not Justice League, the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Suicide Squad,
didn't make money.
Didn't make money too. And
banger movie, go see it if you haven't.
It's a freaking perfect movie. And go watch Peacemaker. That's a great follow-up. That's a great epilogue TV show. But like this movie did really well, but also it's not doing very well. So, this is worrisome because it's like this movie I think was supposed to kick off James Gunn's new vision for DC, but if it goes like this and people still are coming back to watching movies in movie theaters, so there's no qualms about that. I don't know how long DCU is gonna last.
So this one was already happening, as far as I understand, was already kind of moving before he came in, and he didn't stop it or slow it down or anything, but he kind of like just let it happen. But I don't think he was like directly involved with its entire, process and creation. This movie is not doing super well. It's currently sitting at about 50 million worldwide, which, for a big blockbuster superhero movie after a full week of being in theaters, it's not great.
Especially since it targets like a large group of people. Like it's pandering for the Mexican people, and that's a lot of people.
But it's
too.
Just, it's like it's already like Barbie's already back on top. Like over the weekend, Blue Beetle was doing better, but now this week, Barbie is making more in dailies than Blue Beetle is, and so this movie is not going to do super well. It's unfortunate. I think it's pretty good. I don't recommend you go to a theater unless like you're really excited by the idea of a Mexican superhero. The movie's fine. Family is great. But I would just wait till it's on a streaming service, to be honest.
Or if you want, go get the AMC A-list tier stub, and you don't have to worry about it.
I mean, fair enough.
I watch on IMAX, baby.
So why don't we move on from Blue Beetle? Jono, you wanted to talk a little bit about Twitter things.
Yeah, so Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter. I late at one night, I found out they lowered the requirements to be on the ad revenue sharing program. And this is like kind of like first time me actually kind of like using my clout or exploiting my clout for money. And 2 weeks later, I got paid. I got paid $311 and I think 84 cents of revenue sharing money.
Real money.
I was real money. Like I was like literally like, nah, this is wrong. But I go log into all my payment processing systems that they set up for me, and it was legit. 2 days later, it was in my bank account. It literally says X ad revenue sharing. Here's the money in your bank account. And I was like, my first reaction was like, oh, this is sick. I love X. This is great. I'm going to create more content. But like, I have like plans, and I'll talk about one of my plans I want to kind of do, but doing all these things. But now here's the thing is that once you lower that bar, and even for me, I'm not a big influencer. I only have like 20,000 followers. Like that's small potatoes. But now with all the situations, what I'm seeing is that the quality of content Twitter has just fucking rocketed down, and it's literally becoming text-based TikTok or people trying to game the system to get people to look at the replies. Cause that's where the money is the reply advertisement insert placements that they have there. So they make people to go into those comments. And, literally today, I just kind of did an experiment. I went on to x.com or twitter.com. And you can probably go to the For You page, scroll down maybe like 30 main posts. You can see there's a pattern of people now trying to going, hey, like it was like it's that freaking meme going, stop, show me the last picture on your phone.
So then you go and
or hey, stop, like send me the last cute photo of like to do this. So it's just pandering for comments and everything. And I used to go to Twitter I'm just gonna call it Twitter, fuck it, to learn the news and find out what's going on, what's the latest like thing happening. And now it's just like literally it feels like I'm now on TikTok, and it's just so unfortunate.
Yeah, generally when money enters the game of content creation, the quality goes down. Or when the ability for anyone to make money, by getting engagement, the focus shifts, and so I'm not super surprised. I've already kind of mostly disengaged from X. I just don't care.
Now, to be honest, like we kind of do it, and I will continue just to do it because it's like if I can continue to make $300 a month, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it doesn't take that much time to do it either.
It's literally like it's just kind of like me. I'll selflessly I'll say this one kind of tactively is that, like the other day we had lunch on the roof and I was like, oh, I'm going to take a photo because it's really nice. Like I like moments like eating food. And like, I like how MKBHD, we have like family style lunches. Like, oh, one person goes, oh, I'm going to get lunch. We all kind of stop and like eat lunch together. And it's such a really nice thing.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then we all like chat and talk. And this time we went up on the roof of the building to go have our lunch. And it was like a really nice shot. But also like for me, content brand, I'm like, I'm going to post this on X and it's going to get a lot of engagement. And it has, like I already have 500 like likes. Those like 30 comments. Cool. But here's the thing is that I think about that and I will do that because it's quality content, because it's like fun kind of like behind the scenes of my life.
Sure. Yeah.
Please engage. But I'm not, I really don't want to be like, stop, go show me the last hot girl in your photo in there, like that.
But think about the 17 cents you could make for that post. Think about it.
Yeah, it's just, oh God, it's just so sad. But like,
yeah,
and I saw someone made a really good quote, and I'll add on to this, is that might as well make the money because someone else is gonna make it. Like someone worse could probably make it. So I might as well just try to be my best and just like get it.
I understand, and I can't strongly refute it. I hate that that's the reality in which we live, where it's like, well, why would I, help make the world a better place? Because other people can make it worse.
Okay. Well, I think that's like a bit of extreme to kind of go in, and it's like, it's a social platform. I'm not going to be like, hey, go Trump or anything like that, because that's just bad. But I mean,
you said it yourself that
no.
quality of content has gotten worse. The quality of
content, yeah.
Because everyone's like, well, why would I make good content? Because that's not what we're going to get engagement.
I will shift my good focus to go like, I'm going to help the needy. I'm going to volunteer. And when I can vote, I will go participate in local government. I actually do swear that I will do that. Okay. But yeah, that's why I kind of go, I'm like, Twitter, it's already a cesspool. It's not going to get any better. Like, regardless of like how many, like, everyone tries to like rebel and revolt against Twitter, Elon's just going to be Elon, and he's just going to fucking just do whatever he wants. Because the thing is, because he owns that platform. That's why I'm kind of like saying, it's like, I could champion and try to be like, hey, make better stuff. But that's a platform that he has 100% authority on, even though he does get wrist slap all the time. I'm going to go focus my world changing efforts in the real world. That's all I'm really saying. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. I think that's going to be it for the episode. I just want to recommend to everyone that you go and watch What We Do in the Shadows. New season has started. It's the best. And Only Murders in the Building, which is another fantastic little whodunit with some characters I love. I think I talked about it briefly last week. I'm going to want to talk about more about those later when they're closer to being done. So I highly recommend you get caught up because fuck yeah, they're great.
I think also we'll probably want, I think maybe when it's like 4 or 5 episodes in, you and I, we should talk about the new Disney show that Riley has freaking gone on a rampage. Yeah, Ashoka. I know you don't.
I don't watch fucking so stupid Star Wars shit. Star Wars sucks.
Maybe with Riley on here, maybe like Riley.
Sure, I'll invite him over. He can take my spot. I'm sure he wants to rant about Star Wars. I don't get it, man. Riley's so smart. Why does he engage with so much with Star Wars? Like, there's nothing there for him. There's nothing like Andor was awesome, but like all this other stuff, it's just like shitty fan service stuff. I don't know. I'm so burnt out on Star Wars. Apparently, Star Trek: Strange New World season 2 is very good, and I need to get caught up and watch that.
Yeah, that's one place I do want to check out. I can't remember, one of my close friends is like really pushing it. Other than you, because you're one of my, I would consider one of my best friends. So that's cool.
Thanks, John.
But yeah, no, I think for me, what have I been watching that's kind of fun? If you are part of our patreon.com/let's wing it, Drumettes, I did say I've been watching a lot of anime.
What's the current one?
The current one I'm kind of watching is Marshall. Basically, all you really got to know is that, let's just say someone is forced to go to Hogwarts, or a world like Hogwarts, and he has no magic ability at all. But what he lacks in magic, he has basically enough the perfect human body in peak physique condition, and is super strong, super fast, and is able to kind of get by without having to use any magic at all.
Okay,
so
that's interesting.
It's a kind of an interesting tale of like, those other ways to solve problems. You don't have to go with everyone else's solution. There's always a way to accomplish your dreams. And also, it's kind of like your standard like anime fights and those combats as a secret society, and they had to figure it out, which is fun. But it's just kind of cool because like you see the main character, he's really earnest and he's just doing things for a good reason, and you're like, yeah, Good job,
Cool.
Mash. Go watch it.
All
So
right.
yeah, just go watch that. That's been great. But yeah,
Nice.
there's not much else I've been really watching. I've just been kind of busy getting ready for my third move, literally, in a year.
Yeah. I was helping Plouffe move yesterday to his new place. So it'll be it's the season of moving. It's a lot.
Yeah, baby.
I don't envy you. Moving sucks.
Moving does suck.
Do you know what doesn't suck? Coming back next week for another episode of Let's Wing It. You can follow us at our personal Twitters or X's. Jono Tan 86. Go engage with that fucking X account, dog. Go click on everything. Go like everything. Go post on some photos under there. I don't know. You can follow me as The Chosen David. I don't use it though, so Or you can the business one. Let's Wing It Pod.
No, let's wing it 22@gmail.com.
What's the Gmail? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, before.
And Patreon.
Even the Patreon. Patreon is where I'm most active with the guys. But I do want to. I should shout them out because they're all great. We have 19 Patrons. Oh, 19 Biomets that I like to call them. So
19.
Let me go shout each one of these out. All right, let's start. Jonathan Keevers, Coco the Cat, Jeremy Swirdro. I'm sorry, I'm butchering these names.
Keevers is Bjorn now? Fuck yeah, Keevers.
Bjorn Bueller, Ryan T, Elias Menderes, John Gers, Emma Franklin, Sly Merlin, Ethan Lowe, David Curie, Biggs Wellman, Emil Coe, Daniel Quasar, John Milton, Cody Owen, Matthew Noonan, Mike 1814, and Guadalupe Navarro. And hopefully enough, also like we're releasing these on Mondays now instead of Fridays. Hopefully enough that doesn't screw us, but podcast is kind of a different.
We're small
breed
numbers
YouTube.
Anyway. Like it doesn't really matter.
Oh, we get about 500 listeners, so
that's pretty fucking crazy, man. That's pretty big, pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that.
But
so until then, I love you guys, and I will speak to you later. Bye.
Yeah, go buy Beacon Mike too. Bye.
Bye.